good morning, and I'd like to extend a very, very warm welcome to everyone here to the Global Engineering Education Expo 2020. And I must say that I'm really delighted that we have Ms. Suparna Singh from L&T, who's going to be hosting the first breakout session of the day. And we're truly honored and delighted that Ms. Singh could make time for this event and to, she agreed to host this session, right? So in her 30 years of work experience, Ms. Singh has actually worked extensively in the manufacturing and EPC sector and most of its allied sectors. She has led teams in turnaround of businesses, development of strategy, planning and deployment, implementation and performance monitoring, business excellence, governance, and risk management. A little bit about her. So Ms. Singh is an electrical engineer, and she has also completed her post-graduation in business management from the esteemed IIM Calcutta. So Suparna started her career, in the public sector, where she was working with, SAIL, which is the Steel Authority India Limited, and then she went on to do very meaningful stints in Tata Steel and SR Group. Okay, I just wanted to add something about her time in Tata Steel. She was actually managing strategy and overviewing projects, governance and risk management for 17 subsidiaries or 17 companies which are within the Tata Steel umbrella. Okay, at present, so head of corporate strategy and special projects at Larsen and Toubro, another fantastic enterprise, where she oversees a portfolio of businesses in the energy and metal sector. Cumulatively, these businesses have a turnover of 7 billion US dollars. So it's really a very, very large enterprise that she's part of. And she's actually helping the enterprise to be future ready, right? She's also an active member of the CII and also part of the organizing committee of women in the energy sector. Suparna is not new to these kind of sessions. She actually speaks frequently in international and domestic forums. She's considered as a thought leader, and her expertise is on management and process-oriented subjects. And personally, she likes mentoring young professionals, especially women, and she's also mentored many startups. So with that, I'd like to say thank you once again for making time for this session, Suparna. The Diary of an Engineer, Tips for Success is, I'm really looking forward to the session. So over to you, please.
Thank you, Amit. Thank you, Zista, for giving me this opportunity to interact with the bright minds that we have today. Very good morning to all of you. I wish it was a physical, one-on-one, one-to-many interaction also, but hopefully next year. So my first reaction to the title, Diary of an Engineer, was it felt good to be addressed as an engineer after a long time. You see, normally we are addressed by our designation and the company we work for. My visiting card also says so. But come to think of it, medical professionals carry the honorific title of doctor through life, musicians as pundits, chartered accountant ensures his name is invariably followed by a CA badge, lawyer by advocate. We don't really emphasize engineer as a suffix to our names, except for the initial few years. Actually, long back, maybe 28, 30 years back, I would write Suparna Singh BEE. There's a Bachelor of Electrical Engineering. But over a period of time, the designation, the company profile, that takes over. Now, but this aspect of adding, this aspect is true actually for India and most parts of the world. But in Middle East, I found few people were carrying the prefix of engineer to the names. In fact, I asked them that, what is engineer Maqbool? Is your first name is engineer? I said, no, I'm an engineer by profession. So that was quite nice. So perhaps we should start doing something about it. Maybe you all can start a trend. With that thought, let me have your indulgence in sharing the milestones of my professional journey, the steps I have taken, the lessons learned, and leave the takeaways to you to distill as you feel fit. If there are questions, you can keep on adding to the chat box. And along with Amit and Vitali, we'll take it up towards the end of this talk. I have picked 4 tips from the lessons I can look back upon during my 30-year professional career in various phases. And time permitting, would like to share 3 life tips as well. As a teenager, I was not clear what I wanted to do. what was best for me, what was my calling. I came from a middle class, educated family in Kolkata. It was important to do well in studies and balance it with hobbies like music, literature, arts. My timetable and how I spent my time during the day to add value to myself was the focus, while the results were expected to reflect the effort for sure. Turned out I was a fairly good student. In hindsight, that has helped me till date being in the present and focusing on the here and now, especially when there are multiple projects to work on, problems to handle at home, to keep the social network alive. It is all about huge multitasking, and I'm sure all of you all will face that as you all progress in life. It can all get too much to handle unless one is centered and one is in the moment and gives one's best. So, the first lesson, do what you're doing the best you can, being in the present. Science was a natural choice and a practical one for me because it fetched more marks, even full marks if you got the answers right, and all of you all know that. In class 11 and 12, as friends, we spoke about various options to pursue. Teachers and friends influenced my inclination to pursue engineering. It appealed to me. And if that didn't happen, I thought of pursuing pure science and becoming a professor. I was open to other opportunities as well. With that thought, I set about preparing for my competitive exams. Now, why engineering? You see, as a student, I used to often think, what is the use of learning all this stuff, mathematical, chemical, and all this physics equations and problems? And we spend a lot of our student life on this, as you all know. All have gone through that phase and still going through. Now, how does one make use of them in real life? Arts and commerce was understandable. But what about calculus, permutations, combinations, Bernoulli's equation, Laplace transform, organic chemistry, and so on and so forth? Engineering did appear to offer a higher intellectual plane of creativity and applications. It made me curious and challenged me. At this point in time, it may be relevant to pause and look up the definition of engineering, and I'll just take maybe a moment or so on this. The term engineering is derived from the word engineer, which itself dates back to 1390 AD to engineer. Now, the word engine itself is of even older origin, around 1250, ultimately deriving from the Latin ingenium, meaning innate quality, especially mental power, hence a clever invention. And the definition of an engineer, as I looked up, is a person who uses science, math, and creativity to solve technical problems. I'll come back to this when we ask ourselves why so many engineers are doing so well in domains other than their own. Coming back to my choice of pursuing engineering, it also helped that most of my friends were preparing for the engineering competitive exams. So I went with the flow and got through an engineering institute. My choice of the institute was again much driven by the fact that many of my friends were joining the same institute, though I had got one in a few other institutes as well. But that was a huge reason for my joining this particular institute, and apart from doing it from the comfort of home. So, lesson number 2, go with the flow, but have a plan A and a plan B. Which brings me to the next lesson. I must admit that going through the engineering course left me more aware of my ignorance than I was before. I realized that I was not so smart after all, and there were a lot of topics that I could not fully comprehend. The gap between theory and application was bridged to some extent, but not to any degree of satisfaction. During campus recruitment, I got several offers from renowned companies, including companies like Siemens, Philips. At that time, actually could take more than one job offer. Now, this assured me of a good salary and a good AC working environment and in my hometown. One evening, I had boarded a bus. I was going home from the university. One friend called out to me and thrust an application form even as the bus had started. I noted it was a form for a technical exam, to a selection for a job in a public sector steel plant. It was the Steel Authority of India Limited. The next day was the last day for filing the application. I felt a calling that as an engineer, I would like to work for a plant, have my hands dirty, and have the freedom to fail and then learn. So sat through the written exam, got through several rounds of group discussions and interviews, and finally got selected. Posting was in a small township, Durgapur. It's no longer small, by the way. It's a beautiful township, but at that time it was a small, very quaint township, and where I had never been before. Amongst the various choices I made in life, looking back, this was a milestone. I had no idea of the future other than a thirst for challenges, thrill of the unknown, and to listen to my inner voice, which said, just go for it. Post our training in the Steel Plant Training Institute, we were offered choices. I was one of the very few girls in a sea of boys, and I was nudged towards an administrative role. They were all very well meaning, let me put it this way. Or they said, or any other desk job role, you get the first choice, Suparna. I chose the role of maintenance on the shop floor of the steel plant. This started off as the most uncomfortable phase. In the dust, extreme heat, and grime of the blast furnace, in the pits of the steel melting shop. Even there, I was gently advised to stay back in office, but I would not listen. I was an engineer, and I was not ready to be identified by my gender. This phase stood out as the most rewarding learning experience, and I finally felt I had become an engineer. My advice to all the young bright students here, as engineers and other than maybe computer science and computer engineering, try to go, if possible, try to go through the grind of any manufacturing unit, at least any side job or field work if possible. Apart from technical aspects, the management of manpower and the difficult circumstances helps one grow faster and into a more mature human being early in life. And the confidence you'll have after that is immeasurable and will stay for life. My take, don't chase money early in life. Add value to yourself, chase experiences, and money will chase you. So, lesson number three, listen to your inner voice, even if it means embracing discomfort. Meanwhile, I had married my batchmate and I was getting comfortable in my professional role. Acceptance was there, and I could have lived my entire life in the cozy comfort of predictability. But I soon got restless, realized that without continuously adding value, I would be stagnant. I prepared and sat for the CAT exams and did my MBA. Changed jobs and shifted location, this time to Tata Steel in Jamshedpur. I had my first child, my daughter, by then, but my identity as an engineer was as important to me as my role as a wife, mother, daughter. I moved across and up the organization in good time, taking up roles in logistics management, business excellence processes, and turning around a business unit, and also heading Synergy, which Amit very kindly pointed out, and which was an of several, quite a few, 17, and actually it went up to 26 companies, where I was playing an active role and was our permanent invitee to the board. The mantra again was focus on the present and do the best you can. It helped that I never played politics, was a team player, humble, and actively looked for growth opportunities. I realized this over time that engineering teaches you problem solving like no other discipline. It trains the mind to understand complexities and drill it down to the root cause, which is why perhaps engineers can easily straddle any profession and in any field, even as a pilot or a chef, or even taking up organic farming or becoming the CEO of companies like Amazon, Google, Microsoft, and many others. I remember the doctor who did a complex surgery on a 3-month-old son. Started off as an engineer. He had started off as an engineer, got through the IS exams, and later on in life pursued medicine and became one of the top-notch pediatric surgeons. That's an engineer for you. The foundation was engineering. Moving on, later I shifted to Mumbai and took up a group role in a conglomerate. Also became member of several boards along the way. As a woman in the boardroom, making a voice heard was a new experience for me, and I'm sure it must have been for the men around. Life was never easy. It was always challenging, but enriching, and never stagnant, and helped me grow. What helped me in my various roles in my personal and professional life was to learn to prioritize and try to achieve harmony in my ecosystem. Lesson number 4, therefore, whenever you are getting very comfortable, it may be time to look out for new challenges and grab other opportunities. Here I'll pause and share some life tips I have experienced and which can help anyone at any point in time. Instinctively, as you go on in life, one figures out what is important and what is right. And this is very instinct based, and I think you all will you all just need to, and everyone needs to just silence themselves a bit to hear what the voice is saying. And most of the time, it is in sync with you as a person and with the environment outside. So, in trying to balance a professional and personal career, you have to instinctively figure out what is important for you at that point in time. I did what I thought would make me be in equilibrium with my ecosystem and myself. That includes learning on my support system, largely my mother in my case, having adequate help at home, delegating work, and having a partner, a life partner who understands and respects the work you do. So the first life tip is art of prioritizing and balancing to seek inner equilibrium. Through life, there will be ups and downs. Don't be defined by a job, position, and what society thinks of you. Do what makes you happy. And I have experienced this myself through music or yoga and a close group of friends who you can let your hair down with. So second tip is it is important to have hobbies and to have a close circle of friends. And I'm sure you all would have many of them, but just nurture it. Don't let it die. For now, the last life tip I wanted to share is that you'll be surprised how practicing gratitude can make you feel happy. Looking back, I realize how the little and big gestures or actions of people I have known and did not know well have helped me progress. I wish I had paused to express my gratitude to each of them at the time. I do so now. So be grateful for what you have. Express gratitude to the people you meet along your journey and try to give something back to society when you have achieved something in life. I would also like to leave this thought to you because these are things that we go through as we progress in life. And I'm sure all of you must also be in phases where you all are feeling elated, you all are feeling depressed, or you all are having some anxiety about the future. Now, failure and success is how you define it. Don't let others define it. But know that your potential is unlimited and aim high. Is a failure. One only one tries, and it is just a way to learn and be enriched. I have failed in projects, lost heart at not being recognized, felt many times that I was not getting my due. My option was to quit or grit my teeth and not give up. I chose the latter. So don't be afraid of failure. As Thomas Edison said, I have not failed. I have just found 10,000 ways that won't work. So, very quickly to encapsulate the tips that I have shared here is that do what you can, do what you're doing the best you can. You cannot, you can only control your actions. At times, just go with the flow. Listen to your inner voice, even if it means embracing discomfort. Whenever you're very comfortable doing something, look out for new challenges and opportunities. The art of balancing and prioritizing inner equilibrium is important for happiness. It is important to have hobbies and to have a close circle of friends. Be grateful for what you have. for the people you have met along your journey and express your gratitude. So, in brief, I'll conclude with this: whatever you do, just try to be the best version of yourselves. Do good, be good, feel good. Good luck and best wishes to each one of you. Amit and Mithali they have kindly agreed to help with the question answer session in case there are some questions. Amit?
It's an amazing session. I think you really shared some very good tips, and I can see that students are, really brimming with a lot of questions. So if you don't mind, I'll just share some of those questions with you, and maybe you could, respond to the students, right? So one question which is coming recurringly is actually focusing on internships, right? So there are several questions relating to internships. So students are basically asking, what kind of internships can I do to boost, my chances of getting a good placement? Does it matter if the internship is in a big brand? Should I do my internship with a Tata Steel or an L&T, or is it okay if I do it with a maybe lesser known company? So is it important to do the internship with a big brand? So can you just share your thoughts on that?
Sure. I think internships should focus on the content of the project. Uh, Big companies doesn't help as much as what you have done. Any project that you have inputs that you have given to that project, what you have learned from there is more important than the company. And I have seen some students actually wanting to do something in a startup because that is where the energy of change happens. That is where the new ideas happen. That is where you start from doing nothing to doing something. So while big organizations is good to understand the entire management and structure, but you know small entities is absolutely fine as long as your project and what you have done as an intern is
Hmm.
of a good quality that satisfies you.
Okay. All right. Okay. And I can see that there are quite a lot of people who are asking questions regarding aerospace engineering. So they're asking you, is it a good field? Any advice that you can give them? I mean, I know it may not be really close to your knitting, but any thoughts that you can share on aerospace engineering, ma'am?
Yeah, you see, sometime back we had a few years back we had megatronics as a new engineering stream, and they had a lot of questions around whether it was
Hmm.
something that one should take up. But now it is one of a premier sought after stream because it talks about combining mechanics and combining robotics. Now aerospace also is I feel it's a very good stream because we can see a lot of activity that's going to happen in the airspace. And while it may be about commercial inland space that you're talking about, it could also graduate to a space where you are talking about what is happening in the space with Branson, with Jeff Bezos, actually challenging the frontiers of space technology and making it commercialized. I think there's a lot in the aerospace industry that one can, use of. And at the end of the day, whatever you do, if you do it well, and if there's some understanding and distillation of information that you have, you can apply it in many places. And you could actually use aerospace even in automobile industry in many ways, because automobile industry is actually gearing up in a way which is encompassing a lot of features of the latest state of the art technology, which aerospace can help make it happen. So there's no limitation as long as you love what you're doing and you do what you choose to do. So aerospace is absolutely fine. Go
All
ahead.
right. Okay, fantastic. So I hope you don't mind staying with us for some time because we've actually got a lot of questions, Suparna. So let me just go to the next one. The one student is actually asking you a more theoretical question, saying, what is the difference between mechatronics, automation, and robotics?
See, these are actually mechatronics, I would say, combines automation, robotics, and even other streams of engineering, which includes even mechanical and electrical.
Mm-hmm.
So mechatronics is more of a umbrella industry of engineering, but automation is, I would say, you could specialize. Maybe you can do one level of engineering, it will be electronics, electrical, but automation is a specialization of a certain engineering field.
Mm-hmm.
And by all means, if you want to do it, go for it, because that is the call of the day. And
Right.
automation is going to only grow in leaps and bounds. Robotics is also a very mature industry now, and it is also gaining a lot of momentum, especially
Mm-hmm.
after the pandemic, when many industries have realized that if they would rather have, not only robotics in terms of machines, but robotics in terms of people. Robots will do the work of humans when it is, assembly line, when it is repetitive. So these are all specialized fields, and you can definitely take this up as a specialization, or even as a part of your next step after broad engineering stream.
Right.
But I must tell you that these are all very, very important and futuristic fields of engineering.
Fantastic. Okay, some people are asking questions regarding more traditional fields, and they're really kind of seeking some advice from you, saying that after I have completed, say, for example, chemical engineering. So there are several questions along these lines. So let me just try and combine it as best as I can. So some people are asking, what can we do after civil engineering? What can we do after mechanical engineering? And what can we do after chemical engineering? So if you could just touch upon that, it would help.
You said chemical, mechanical,
Civil
and
and mechanical. Yes,
chemical, civil, and mechanical.
that's right.
I would say, and this is my personal view, right? You may
Sure, sure.
choose to do something else altogether, and that should be fine if it resonates with you.
Mm-hmm.
My thought is that after you have done engineering, try to get into a job which sharpens your understanding of the stream of engineering. So if it is chemical engineering, if you can get into a oil industry, or if you can get into a pharmaceutical industry, or any other industry which uses chemical engineering as a base, as a most
Hmm.
important. Of course, any industry you go, you will find that it combines all the engineering streams together. No engineering industry can survive by itself. So even if you go to for example, a chemical engineering field,
Right.
you'll find mechanics there, mechanical aspects, even civil aspects, even chemical, even electrical, electronics, computers, everything is there. But what is the base foundation engineering is something that you could go by. Mechanical, you could go for one of the, I would say, the operational shop floor operations,
Sure.
that you may choose to go for a automobile industry. You may choose to go for an aeronautical industry, to where
Hmm.
where the base is your understanding of machines.
Right.
And for civil, such a lot of infrastructure projects are happening, and so many marvels are happening in the civil structure. So much of state of the art, facets that are manifesting in the civil engineering industry. Also, it's no longer a staid and boring stream. It has gained its own stream of followers. So try to get into it could be a EPC company, it
Hmm.
could be just infrastructure company. That is my view. And after that, you could choose to do anything else. You could choose to do higher and pursue some higher studies, or you could pursue anything that you wish, another new opportunity that you get back.
Right. Okay. Some people are also asking about material engineering or material science engineering. So I guess people have chosen a specific stream, and I think as an industry expert, they're looking for some validation from you. Okay, will I have a good job, or will I have a good career prospect if I've done material engineering? So any thoughts on that? And there was also one student who asked a very direct question, saying that how does one go about applying for internships and jobs in civil in L&T? So if you could also touch upon that.
Okay. The first question is on material engineering.
That's right.
Now, I must tell you all this, that one concern of any product industry is the rapid change in the alternate materials that are getting available. So we are looking at products which are alternate to steel. It could be the uh, high carbon fiber products. There are alternatives that are emerging in the material industry which are lighter, which are stronger, and which could also be
Mm.
cheaper in the long run.
Mm.
Now, you all know, and we had seen how the 3D printing was just at the nascent stage and how it is gaining momentum. Now, 3D
Absolutely.
industry is going to change the dynamics of the material, the material, I would say, the material fabric of utilities. So you can have, it would be applicable in buildings and factories. It could be applicable in machines. It could be applicable in jewelry. It could be applicable in organs, biological organs. So in each of this, you are having material engineering, which are getting better, lighter, and stronger every day. And this is one of the I would say areas which is really developing. And I would say that this is because this is a stage which is developing. There's a lot that you can do. I mean, I would not be surprised if tomorrow you're embedding chips into the materials so
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to retrofit it. It is there as a
Nice.
part of the material. And as, for example, is a bridge, the cement could be replaced by something which is stronger and which has a certain inbuilt digital interface into it, which says that the life of the material is now crumbling. It is going to be over, another 2 years left, and by the time you please repair this, because this is no
Right.
longer going to endure. So a lot
Fantastic.
that you can do. um, Internships in any company is you could apply to the HR person.
Mm-hmm.
And what you can do is that if you know someone, you may like to request, and that person may forward it to the HR person of the company, because they are the ones who actually looks at
Right.
all the options that have come in. But you must understand which particular, because there are areas, and I believe in L&T, it was actually I mentored few interns last year. It was, I think, May June. It was around May June, April May June. So around April onwards, I think one has to look for internship opportunities in some big companies, but it could be different for different companies, and that you have to keep track of.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you for that. I see that we have a lot of young entrepreneurs with us, and they're actually asking questions around startups. So,
Yeah.
one student is asking, what is the best time to go for your own startup? I suppose where he must be coming from is, should I graduate and go for a startup, or should I work first and then start up? And there was another startup related question. Again, this is again asking you for a very personal opinion, that in the field of manufacturing over the next 10 to 15 years, 20 years, what could be the scope for startups? So any thoughts on that would help.
Okay. I think a startup has to proceed by an idea,
Absolutely, a
and
market
I
need.
would your
Yeah.
market need. So
Yes.
my advice as a friend, as a senior, would be that if you are passionate about an idea, work on it, look for research, talk to people, but do your graduation first. I think that is important as a fundamental of life going forward, because you do not know how you will fare. Many startups succeed brilliantly. Many startups also fail. I mean, as I said, nothing fails, but you can do another something else. But try to do your graduation, but nurture this idea, live with this idea. Try to find an ecosystem where your idea gets momentum, so that the moment you graduate, you can actually even before you can, if you have the time and space, you can start working on it. But my basic point is that don't give up your graduation, don't give up your studies for this. If it can coexist, best.
Hmm.
But otherwise, try to complete your graduation, and then develop the idea and work on it with the ecosystem that you would have spoken to during this period.
Okay.
um, Startup and manufacturing industry.
Yes.
You see, manufacturing industry startup is fine, but it requires a lot of capital.
True.
Now, if the idea is so good and so strong that a corporate wants to fund you and wants to say that, fine, you work with us and we will fund it,
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing altogether. But
Mm-hmm.
I would say, unless you have deep pockets, I mean, I don't find anything less than maybe, I don't know, I mean, 200, 250 crores could be, if you want to put up and manufacturing industry has to be to a certain scale. You
Right.
cannot have a small manufacturing entity. So manufacturing is always about scale and size. So I would suggest that if there's an idea, develop a pilot, develop a prototype, talk to industries who might be interested in it, and if there is some traction that they feel, they might fund the idea, and maybe you all can join hands. But on your own, startup in manufacturing, just think about it a little bit deeper, and as I said, work on a pilot before you do anything.
Perfect. I think that that's really rock solid advice. Working with a pilot really and prototyping is really the way to go. And rightfully said, manufacturing is a big ticket investment. So I see a lot of recurring questions again, Suparna, regarding about students asking that if I'm looking for a job ultimately in the field of engineering, are my skills as a candidate more important, or the knowledge that I gained during my course, or the brand of the college itself from where I'm graduating? So they're asking what is more important, as a potential employer. So any thoughts on that?
Okay, the points you mentioned is that you're talking about brand, your knowledge, and you were talking about skills.
That's right.
You see, don't worry about the brand of the. I mean, after you have entered,
Mm-hmm.
before you enter an engineering institute,
Mm-hmm.
you must look at the brand. If you have options, look
Right.
at the brand, because a good brand attracts good companies. A strong brand of a university attracts a good campus, a good depth and the breadth of campus uh, interview, campus recruitment companies that come in. Once you are in that university, what takes you ahead is your, I would say, attitude. We say it's an
Yes.
attitude and it's your aptitude. Now, attitude is that how you look on at life. How is there a curiosity for learning? Is there some passion? Is there some interest? Are you alive to the to the environment around you? Do you have your own thoughts? And to some extent, they'll sound you about, but it's about your attitude. And aptitude is about, do you have the necessary qualities in you to learn new skills and to learn new ways of doing things? So many times, whether in group discussions or in interviews, and I have taken a whole lot of interviews myself, is if you ask a question, and sometimes you do ask some technical questions, but if you do ask a question, to what level of honesty and transparency you're able to answer it, and of course you need to know a subject to some extent, but um, uh, a knowledge of life and how you come across, and they'll ask you a whole host of other questions around not only your knowledge but around otherwise how you come across as a person, how as a friendly, opinionated, or a person who is frank, who's willing to do something, in fact, during my interview in Otis, when I got through that, the question I was asked is that Suparna, you have come for this interview, but there are 30 flights of stairs and at that time, a long time back. So the question was that 30 flights of stairs that you have to, climb to get to the point where the work is actually happening. How can you do it? And I said that I don't have to count the stairs. I have to reach the top.
That's a
So
lovely
you
answer.
can, so you have to go to where the job is. I will not count the
Hmm.
stairs. I'll reach there. So the point is that how you are coming across as a person,
Hmm.
and yeah, I would say that understand the
Yes.
understand the stream that you are in a little bit,
Right.
but don't worry. I mean, your attitude and aptitude will stay stronger than even if you give a wrong answer, as long as you say it with some depth.
Right. Okay. All right. So there are also a last few more questions. See, the whole point is some students are asking very specific questions, which I am actually not touching upon. Like, how do I get an internship in DRDO, ISRO? But you answered that, approach the HR department. There's an interesting question which I can see that's just come in, and it actually, maybe you are uniquely well placed to answer this. So I suppose I'm an engineering student. should I go for a as a bachelor program? Should I go for a master's program in engineering or an MBA? That's the question.
Okay, yeah, this is something that a lot of students are doing and working on. Is ultimately it depends on what you want to do.
Hmm.
If you really want to go into the job arena, then it's better to uh, it's always good to do, perhaps after doing engineering, do a job for 2 years or 3 years or even 1.5 years, 2 years, at
Hmm.
optimum 2 years. And then MBA helps. MBA helps is that it just opens the door to another area to say that fine, you know, now engineering, you can go up the management ladder. But if you want to specialize in a particular subject, like you wanted to specialize in, someone is talking about say robotics, someone is talking about the data
Hmm.
science. Nowadays, a lot of them want to do it, and which
Right.
is not captured. Someone wants to specialize in that field and want to do something about it. Then a master's is always helpful and useful. And if you want to go abroad also and work in a certain area of the of an industry, then you can choose to do masters and go ahead with that.
Fantastic. I think that's very well answered. In fact, it automatically answers another question a student asked that I'm an Indian student, and if I want to work in the aerospace industry in the US, how do I do it? Well, it's really simple. You could consider doing a master's program there. That could be
Yes,
a good entry point.
yes, absolutely.
Um, now, some people are asking, should we get work experience after our bachelor degree before and then move to an MTech kind of degree, or should we kind of do it immediately? So that's also a question. Continue studying or take a break and work and then and then study,
It's really an individual choice.
right?
But according to me, and I increasingly see a lot of other students doing it, is that they, after doing engineering, they pursue a job. Now, the only caveat I have, and only point of alert, is that don't get so used to a job and earning money that
Mm-hmm.
you leave aside your ambitions for higher studies, because that is as many students have the problem that I'm earning, again I leave everything and pursue something. So try to do, but doing a job keeps you grounded to the
Right.
area that you have studied, and then you can go to the next level. But again, you can also study immediately. It's a personal choice at the end of the day.
Okay. All right. So, we're coming close to, actually, we've exceeded the time of the session, but I think it's been really interactive and really enjoyable. The thing is, Suparna, the questions are still coming. Um, and I guess I'll just take one last question. And at the same time, I'll, also apologize to the students whose questions we could not take. I tried my best to look at all the questions and answer, make sure that your question is answered. But there's a question that's come in as to what would you give as interview tips, because a lot of the students are also at that stage in life where they want to go for a job. So, as a senior, what would you give them, some interview tips?
What happens is, during when I have taken a lot of interviews and I've seen others doing it, is that uh, because everyone knows that what you are studying is true for all, and some people, it depends on
Mhm.
the professors, but what you have gained out of that. But one very important revelation of a student is that what have they done in the internship? What is the project that they have worked on? How much of value that they have given of themselves that they've given to it? What has been the outcome and what has been the learning? So that
Mhm.
gives the interviewer a understanding of the how they have bridged their learning to the application in within that
Right.
limited period. It's a limited scope, but even within that, it was a how was it smart enough? And also, uh, apart from studying, what is it that the student has done? Extracurricular activities? Has it taken up
Mhm.
as a club membership? Has he done something? Let something, is a holistic person, and does he have other interests? Is an interesting person. So these are the questions that, it's a well-rounded personality that people usually look for.
Mm.
One doesn't want very aggressive personalities at the interview. Humble, modest, and yet with good grounding, understanding of what she knows or she doesn't know, and you know to be aware of their shortcomings or their learnings, and obviously brush up whatever you have studied a little bit and focus on the internship project. I would say that is also,
Fantastic.
and even if you don't, you see, the other thing is that interview tip is that suppose they're not asking you the question, but you are wanting to take it, lead them to it. And I'm sure you all have gone, lead them to a
Right.
point, that while you're saying this, I must tell you that when I was doing this, there was something that I felt that, this could have been done better. So that, okay, what have you done? Then you can talk about it. So you also gently lead them to the area that you're more comfortable with.
Right. That's really good, rock solid advice. And just I'd like to add one or two things also to what you said. Some basics, really. Be well dressed. Make sure that you're well dressed, neatly
Absolutely.
groomed.
Absolutely.
Show up on time. Actually, show up 15 minutes before time. Never be late for an interview.
Absolutely.
And always read up on the company that you are interviewing for. Don't walk into that interview blind. Read up about the industry, that company, and also its competition, so that you can answer those questions more intelligently. Yeah.
Yes.
But it's
So,
really been a fantastic session. I wish we could continue and answer more questions, but I'm afraid we must bring this to a close. With that, I must say thank you once again, Suparna, for
thank you.
making time for this session. It was really good. I think the students really enjoyed it. And
Thank you.
as a word to the students, I'm sorry if we could not take all your questions. But maybe if you send us an email, maybe what we'll do is we'll share some of your questions via email with Miss Singh, and we can request her to respond.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Thank
thank you for this, and have a lovely day.
Thank you. Thank you, Zista. Thank you, Amit, Natalia, and all the students. Best of luck to all of you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you.